I still cannot believe this happened to me, but here's my story. I'm from Boise, Idaho, and I've lived there my whole life. Growing up, my mom, Derek, was always involved in every aspect of my life. She was the president of the PTA, a scout leader, and even helped out at my school. But as I got older, our relationship started to change. We grew apart, and I began to feel like she didn't understand me or respect my boundaries. Fast forward to last weekend when I received an invitation to my best friend's wedding in San Francisco. I was stoked to be a part of the celebration, but things took a turn when Ashley, my sister, told me that our mom, Derek, had been acting super strange lately. According to Ashley, Mom had become obsessed with planning some kind of special surprise for the wedding and kept telling her it was going to be life-changing. As I got ready to leave Boise, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. Ashley's words were still echoing in my mind. What could this surprise possibly be? When I arrived at the wedding, everything seemed normal. The ceremony was beautiful, and the reception was lively. But as the night went on, I started to notice Mom wandering around, looking for something. I tried to brush it off as her excitement for the celebration, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. That's when I saw her talking to our old family friend, Mark. They were huddled in a corner, whispering and giggling like they were sharing some kind of inside joke. My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to snoop. I snuck up behind them, trying not to be noticed, when suddenly Mom caught my eye and gave me this fake smile. What I saw next destroyed me. She was holding a small box with our family's old wedding rings in it. It hit me like a ton of bricks. The surprise had nothing to do with the wedding, it was about her own past. I felt my world crumbling around me as I realized that Mom had been lying to us all along. She'd been telling Ashley that she'd found these rings at an antique store, but what I saw told a different story. These were our family's most treasured possessions, and she'd kept them hidden for years. As I watched her hand the box back to Mark, my mind racing with questions, I knew I had to confront her. I approached her with tears in my eyes, demanding to know why she'd been keeping this from us. "What's going on, Mom?" I asked, my voice shaking. She looked at me like I was crazy, like I was overreacting. "What are you talking about?" she replied, feigning innocence. But I knew the truth. Ashley had told me that Mom had been talking to Mark about some kind of family secret, and now it all made sense. What I found next destroyed me. Our family's entire history was built on lies. As the night went on, everything started to unravel. The wedding party got involved, trying to mediate the situation. Ashley stood by my side, her eyes filled with tears as we both realized that Mom had been living a double life. The reception turned into chaos as guests began to argue and speculate about what was happening. My best friend's special day had turned into a nightmare. That is when everything changed. Our family's secrets were out in the open for everyone to see. In the end, we left the wedding early, leaving behind the drama and heartache. As I look back on that night, I'm still trying to process what happened. I never saw it coming, but one thing is certain, my mom's lies will never be forgotten. The topic for today is Aita's story about a wedding disaster. I couldn't believe what was unfolding before my eyes. The woman who had given me life, the person I thought I knew better than anyone else, was standing in front of me with a stranger. Her husband, her partner in crime, stood by her side, a smug look on his face as if he was proud of himself for pulling off this charade. The wedding reception, once filled with laughter and joy, had turned into a scene from a bad soap opera. I couldn't help but feel like I was trapped in some kind of sick dream. The music stopped, the lights dimmed, and everyone's attention was focused on our little family drama. I tried to process what was happening, but my mind was racing with questions. What had Mom been doing all these years? How could she have kept this a secret from us for so long? And who was this stranger, really? As the truth began to sink in, I felt like I was going to be sick. My best friend, Emily, tried to comfort me, but even her presence couldn't calm my racing thoughts. Ashley, Mom's best friend and maid of honor, looked like she'd just been punched in the gut. The reception hall was a mess, with guests whispering and pointing, trying to get a glimpse of what was happening. Some people were crying, others looked shocked or disgusted. It was like everyone was waiting for someone else to make sense of it all, but no one knew where to start. I couldn't help but think about all the times Mom had been busy or working late. I remembered how she'd always leave me alone with Dad when he got home from work, telling him she had a meeting or something. And what about all those trips she took? Were they really just business trips, or was she off on some secret adventure? As the night wore on, more people started to arrive at the reception. Family, friends and acquaintances, who knew nothing about the chaos that had erupted, began to wonder what was going on. The tension in the air was palpable. Meanwhile, Dad stood off to the side, looking shocked and helpless. He kept glancing at Mom like he couldn't believe she'd pulled this off for so long. I couldn't blame him, I felt the same way. At one point, a loud, shrill voice pierced through the chaos. It was Grandma, Mom's mother, standing in the middle of the reception hall, her face red and furious. "How could you do this?" she shrieked at Mom. "You're my daughter. How could you betray your own family like this?" The room fell silent as everyone watched the drama unfold. I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and betrayal. But most of all, I felt confused. I didn't know what to do or how to react. As the evening wore on, things only got worse. Family members started arguing with each other, and strangers began to take sides. The wedding party tried to intervene, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Eventually, we decided to leave. It wasn't worth sticking around for. As we walked out of the reception hall, I couldn't help but feel like my whole world had been turned upside down. How could Mom do this to us? And who was this stranger, really? The ride home was silent and tense. We all just sat there, lost in our own thoughts and emotions. When we finally pulled into the driveway, Dad got out of the car and started walking towards the front door. "Hey," he said, turning back to me. "You okay?" I shrugged. I didn't know if I was okay or not. How could I be? My mom had just broken every trust in our family. As we walked inside, Ashley turned to me with tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry this happened," she said. "I never thought Mom would do something like this." I nodded, trying to find the words. Me neither. The next few days were a blur of emotions and drama. We all struggled to come to terms with what had happened. It was like living in a nightmare that wouldn't end. In the end, we all decided it was best to take some time apart. Dad went on his own retreat, Ashley started therapy, and I just tried to process everything. It's been a while now, but I still don't know how Mom could do something like this. The truth is, I'll never fully understand why she chose to lie to us for so long. All I can say is that it's been a tough road to recovery, but we're all slowly healing and trying to move forward. As for the wedding, well, let's just say it was a disaster. But hey, at least it made for some great drama. The silence was suffocating, a heavy blanket that wrapped around me. Like a shroud. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself lost in thought, replaying the events leading up to the fiasco over and over again. How could Mom do this? The question echoed through my mind like a mantra, refusing to let go. I spent most of my days holed up in my room, unable to face anyone or anything. Ashley would try to talk to me, but I just couldn't muster the energy. Dad was away on his retreat, trying to find some inner peace after the bombshell he'd been hit with. Me? I was stuck in neutral, unsure of how to move forward. Therapy didn't help much either. The sessions felt like a pointless exercise in reliving the pain and heartache. My therapist would ask me questions, but I just couldn't seem to find the right words to express my feelings. It was as if I'd lost my voice, like it had been stolen from me along with my sense of security. One day, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a post from an old friend. We hadn't spoken in ages, but her message caught my attention. "Hey, girl. Just wanted to check in and see how you're doing after everything." It was like she'd read my mind. I hesitated for a moment before responding. "Hey," I typed slowly. "To be honest, it's been tough. Trying to process everything that happened. I didn't go into details, I just wanted to connect with someone who understood." Her response came quickly. "I'm so sorry you're going through this. It sounds like a really rough time. But if you ever need someone to talk to or grab coffee, my door is always open." In that moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe there were people out there who truly cared and could help me navigate these treacherous waters. As the weeks turned into months, I began to slowly emerge from my shell. Ashley and I started talking more often, sharing our struggles and fears with each other. Dad returned from his retreat, looking more at peace than I'd seen him in a long time. We all still had our moments of sadness and anger, but we were learning to support each other. The wedding, though, that was another story altogether. Mom's decision to marry the guy she'd been lying about for months had blown everything wide open. It was like a grenade had gone off, leaving destruction in its wake. The planning process had been a nightmare from start to finish. Who knew what kind of drama we'd face when Mom and her new husband walked down the aisle together? The day of the wedding arrived, and I felt like I was stuck in some sort of surreal dream. Ashley and I exchanged uneasy glances as we sat in the pew, watching Mom look radiant in her white gown. Dad stood stiffly beside us, his expression a mix of sadness and resignation. When it was time for the vows, I closed my eyes, trying to block out the words being spoken. But they still seeped into my consciousness. I promise to love and cherish you. Just thinking about it made me queasy. As we filed out of the church, Ashley turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "Hey, want to grab some coffee and dissect this whole mess?" I grinned, feeling a spark of camaraderie. Hell yeah, let's do it. We spent the next few hours replaying every moment of that fiasco, laughing and crying together as we tried to make sense of it all. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again, imperfect, messy, and ready to face whatever life threw our way. As we parted ways, Ashley turned back to me with a serious expression. "Hey, sis, you know what?" "What?" I asked, curiosity piqued. "I think Mom's finally starting to realize the damage she caused. And you know what that means?" I raised an eyebrow. "What?" "It means we can start rebuilding and moving forward. Together." My heart swelled with hope as I nodded in agreement. Yeah, maybe, just maybe, this nightmare was slowly coming to an end. As the days went by, Ashley's words echoed in my mind like a promise of redemption. For weeks, our family had been trapped in a cycle of guilt, shame, and hurt, with Mom at the center of it all. But now, finally, there was a glimmer of hope that we could put this behind us and start anew. I started small, taking tiny steps towards healing. I began journaling again, something I used to do when life got tough or my emotions needed an outlet. It felt like therapy, minus the copay and awkward small talk with a stranger. As I poured out my thoughts onto the page, I noticed that the words flowed more freely than they had in months. One day, as I was sitting on my couch, scribbling away in my journal, Ashley texted me. "Hey, sis. Want to grab coffee and catch up?" I hesitated for a moment before responding. Coffee dates were usually reserved for special occasions or when we needed a break from Mom's drama. But something about this invitation felt different. Maybe it was the genuine tone behind her words, or maybe I just wanted to get out of my apartment and clear my head. "Yeah, sure thing," I typed back, feeling a tiny spark of excitement. We agreed to meet at our favorite coffee shop in the neighborhood, a cozy little spot with comfy chairs and a fireplace that always seemed to smell like fresh-baked cookies. As I walked in, I spotted Ashley already seated at a table by the window, sipping on a latte. I slid into the chair across from her, and we spent the next hour chatting about everything except Mom. We talked about our jobs, our friends, and our favorite TV shows. Ashley was obsessed with that new sci-fi series. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt like we were just two normal sisters, catching up on life. As we prepared to part ways, Ashley leaned in and whispered, "Hey, sis. Can I ask you something?" I raised an eyebrow. "What's up?" "I was wondering if you'd be interested in taking a girls' trip with me this summer. Just the two of us, no family drama allowed." My heart skipped a beat at the prospect. A girls' trip sounded like exactly what we both needed. Some quality time together, away from the stress and anxiety that came with dealing with Mom. "Absolutely," I exclaimed, almost bouncing out of my seat. "When were you thinking? How about in August? We can go to the beach or something." I nodded enthusiastically. "August sounds perfect. Let's do it." As we hugged each other tight, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Maybe this was the start of our new chapter, one where we focused on ourselves, not just surviving Mom's antics. Over the next few weeks, Ashley and I started making plans for our girls' trip. We scoured the internet for vacation rentals, debated the best restaurants to try, and even started a joint Pinterest board for inspiration. Ashley had some serious skills when it came to creating visually stunning boards. As we worked together on these little projects, I noticed something peculiar. Mom was actually starting to let us have our independence. Maybe it was because Ashley and I were finally finding ways to heal and move forward without her constant drama. Whatever the reason, I was grateful for this small victory. One evening, as Ashley was over at my place, we decided to take a walk around the neighborhood to clear our heads. The sun was setting, casting a warm orange glow over everything. As we strolled along, I turned to Ashley and asked, "You know what? I think Mom's finally starting to realize that she's not the center of the universe." Ashley chuckled. "Yeah, it's about time. But honestly, sis, I don't care if she gets it or not. What matters is that we're moving forward, together." I nodded vigorously, feeling a sense of solidarity with my sister. Maybe Mom would always be a part of our lives, but for the first time in ages, Ashley and I were starting to focus on ourselves. Our own happiness, our own healing. As we turned back onto our street, I glanced up at the sky, watching as the stars began to twinkle like diamonds scattered across the velvet blackness. Maybe this was the start of something new, a chapter where we didn't let Mom's drama define us anymore. The night air was crisp and cool, filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers and the distant hum of crickets. As Ashley and I walked up our driveway, I felt a sense of freedom wash over me, like the weight of years had finally been lifted from my shoulders. We slipped into the house through the back door, where Mom was waiting for us in her favorite armchair, a look of expectation on her face. But to my surprise, she didn't immediately launch into some drama or complaint. Instead, she looked tired? Weary, even? "Dinner's almost ready," she said, her voice low and husky. "Why don't you girls go get cleaned up while I finish cooking?" I raised an eyebrow at Ashley, who shrugged in response. Mom wasn't exactly the most predictable person, but something about this moment felt different. Like maybe, just maybe, we were entering a new era of sorts. As we headed upstairs to our rooms, Ashley turned to me with a mischievous grin. "You know what I think? I think Mom's finally starting to realize that she can't control everything." I snorted in agreement. For as long as I could remember, Mom had been the center of attention, always trying to manage every aspect of our lives. But lately, things had started to shift. She'd begun to loosen her grip, allowing us more freedom and autonomy. Ashley flopped down on my bed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I mean, think about it. We're almost 20, sis. It's time we start making our own decisions, forging our own paths." I nodded vigorously, feeling a sense of solidarity with my sister. Maybe Mom would always be a part of our lives, but for the first time in ages, Ashley and I were starting to focus on ourselves. Our own happiness, our own healing. As we chatted and giggled, getting ready for dinner, I couldn't help but feel a thrill of anticipation. What lay ahead? Would we continue to grow and evolve, or would we stagnate under Mom's watchful eye? Dinner was a quiet affair, with Mom chatting about her day in a low-key sort of way. Ashley and I exchanged knowing glances across the table. This was different. This felt normal. After dinner, we decided to grab some ice cream at the local shop. As we strolled down Main Street, the evening sun casting long shadows behind us, I turned to Ashley with a mischievous grin. "You know what? I think it's time we started making our own plans, not just for ourselves, but for our future." Ashley's eyes lit up like fireworks exploding across the sky. "Oh my gosh, yes. Let's do it. We can start small, with little adventures and trips. And then, who knows? Maybe one day we'll have our own little family, right here in this town." My heart skipped a beat at the thought. Was this really what I wanted? To settle down in one place, to build a life with someone? The idea sent a thrill coursing through my veins. As we licked our ice cream cones, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I turned to Ashley with a determined look. "You know what? I think it's time we start making some real plans, for ourselves, and for our future." Ashley grinned, her eyes sparkling like diamonds in the fading light. "Game on, sis. Let's do this thing." And with that, our journey began. A journey of self-discovery, growth, and adventure.